Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Leo. Welcome back to Yoga with Lynn and Leo.
And welcome to our sequence today. Leo's got the props here, so we're just going to go through those with you.
So we have a rolled blanket, not a rolled blanket, a rolled mat, sorry. And you may not have two mats, you can just use the mat that you would normally be working to on the floor and just roll it into a tight roll like that. 2 bricks, I'm sitting on one of them, and you also need a wall for this.
Okay, so we're going to start. Now you can see here we've got a rolled mat. We're going to just put this along the spine. Now, have you been watching our channel, you'll see that actually we had a similar sequence with this as a starting point. So we're going to do different poses, obviously, but actually this is the starting point, and it's just to get a little bit of support in your spine, support and mobility. So Leo's going to lie along this support. Now we're not going to be in this position too long, although I'm sure Leo would want to be in this position for a little bit longer. Now, if you remember, those of you who were watching, we just had these tiny little rocking movements so that we just got a little bit of movement in the spine. So just rolling onto that mat. It's good to have something quite firm behind your back, so it's really good to fold that mat quite well rather than a blanket, because actually you can really work from one side to the other. And this is really key, particularly if you're a beginner. There's no reason why you cannot practice this routine, this sequence. Obviously some things will be modified. Remember that we're all beginners every day that we get on that mat, we find out new things. So don't worry if your body's stiff, this is a really good way to start. Just get that manipulation and get a sensation and feeling of those back muscles. After all, this is such an important part of our body. It houses our nervous system and our immune system. So it's good to keep that agility there. So once you've been having this little bit of roll to and fro, it's just like scratching back really, isn't it? It's just really nice. You're just rolling from one side to the other and just feeling that connection with your spine. Okay, so all that niceness now finishes, because we're going to get down to the asana work. So rolling to your right side, and you're going to come up. Now we're coming and introducing a pose called Pasasana. We're only coming into a modified version of this. Now, if some of you find that your knees are quite challenged in this position, then you can twist on a chair. That's a really good way to practice. We did put a video out last week or the week before.
The week before last, Virabhadrasana on the chair. Yes.
Yeah. Virabhadrasana on the chair, so just replace this for Virabhadrasana on the chair. You can see here, Leo's going to put her heels onto the support. Now what's really important about this pose is that you ground down into the support. And you can see that as Leo goes down, a lot of the weight goes into the knees. So what she's got to do is to lift her buttocks up a little bit. That's it. She's got to reach this outer thigh back, outer thigh, back of the thigh back, so that there's nice space. And then it is kind of taking a, yes, that's so much better. So remember that you just don't fold your knees. I know that we've been teaching quite a bit of this at the centre recently, and it's really important that you look after those knee joints. We also do have quite a few people with knee replacements, so we don't want to get to that stage. Now you can see that this is a squatting action. You've got to ground down. Some of you may be able to go without the support of the grip, but we're using the support so that we can understand the real essence of the action. The abdomen draws towards the spine. There's a really good lift in the spine. Now the challenging part comes in the twist, because when we start to twist, everything gets a little bit restrained. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the arm, so we're going to take your left arm over your thigh and just be there for a moment. Now when you're in this position, It's really easy to continue with the twist, but what we want to do is to see that we get that lift up again. So I'm going to ask Leo to lift the bottom and reach back with those heels and then reach back down again. You notice that this turn is coming a little bit more. Now what she needs to do is to take the hand to the wall. So it might be, and the other hand to the wall too. So it might be that actually some of you will need to go a little bit closer to the wall. Leo, if you're regularly looking at the videos, you'll realise that Leo has really long arms. So actually she can get away with this. If I was doing this, I'd have to be right next to the wall because we've got different body proportions. Now what's really important that you use this fulcrum and you don't overdo in terms of the twist, but you think about that rolled mat. So that rolled mat is going down the spine and then you're getting this revolving action, yes. And this has all got to work. You can see there's a bit of stiffness here in Leo's back. We'll be working on that from the base. So what happens is there's too much twist here, so she needs to get a little bit more opening in this side of the spine to get the turning. And there you go. Now that's Pasasana to one side, and I'm sure you've probably had enough of doing this pose now. So we're going to come to the other side, so turn yourself round. So remember that these tiny little subtleties make a difference. And it's really important that even though you may be able to put the feet down, we're not catching the arms at this moment in time, but we're just learning the essence of the action. You see when Leo comes down, she's got to be sure that actually she's not dropping into her knees. I see this quite a lot in practice, that people do actually just fold their knees in half, and that's not very good if you're in this for a long time. You know, if you're practicing yoga, you want to try to do it as safely as possible. And again, those of you who feel that this is too strained, then please do use the chair in Virabhadrasana twist. So now we're in this position, we're going to hook now the arm over the left thigh, that's it, and just be there for a moment. So we've got to see that we fill out the back, weight down with the outer back of the spine, and then get that turn. Take the hand to the wall, take the other hand to the wall, and get that turn in action. So the understanding, again, this shows up a little bit of stiffness for Leo, it does for all of us too. So we've got to see that we start from the base and we're getting all of that really beautiful length there and get that turning. So what a pose to start with, Pasasana, but it comes to us all at some point. So then release it. And coming out to the action, sitting in Dandasana. Now we've got this rolled mat here, so we're going to use the rolled mat for Pasasana action. Yeah, you can see, not Pasasana, Paschimottanasana in a second. Alright, so extending the heels away from you, and then you can see Leo's pulling the buttock flesh. But one of the most important things in yoga asana is to get mobility in the spine. So we've got to see that the legs become that fulcrum. So to come into Paschimottanasana is quite a challenging thing. Now, if you find it really difficult to hinge forward at the hips and to hold the big toes, then do have a belt. Now you will see some of our videos, I think we've probably got a pose directory on Paschimottanasana, maybe we'll have to check on that one. But if we haven't, we'll be putting one out very soon. So round down with the thighs. Now what we want to do is get this lift. Leo's going to reach arms up in Uttanasana, just to really inform the body, so informing the body all about this lift, this drawing back of the side waist, of the abdomen, everything, pulling up the kneecaps and thighs, everything extending. Then we're going to reach for the big toes, coming forward. Reach for the big toes. Now this is a little bit of a process, this pose, and you can imagine, you know, you're hinging from your hip. It's extreme. Paschimottanasana, don't underestimate how difficult this can be. It's quite a strong action. So go and pull on your toes and lift up through the centre of the body, that's it. Then see if you can get the same action by holding onto the foot bones. Now if all of this as beginners is really challenging, don't worry. please don't worry. This is for people who actually are starting off but have a little bit of agility. If not, then use a belt around your feet. If you haven't got a belt, then use a dressing gown, a tie or belt. And then bend the elbows and lengthen along your thighs. So see if you can get this understanding from your twisting action. So there's got to be breadth and broadness in the lower back region. And then we just keep the elbows out. So this is in motion, so we've got to see that these elbows are here to stop us just relaxing down and reaching the forehead towards the feet and be in that position. And once you're there, you still maintain that breadth and broadness and keeping that action, that understanding and awareness. Just take a couple of breaths in Paschimottanasana, quite a challenging pose. So those of you who are in the full action, then remember you need to concentrate on your breath. And it's quite difficult to breathe if the diaphragm is closed. So therefore it's better to sit up and be in this pose. And then release them and coming up. And then coming into Dandasana. Roll your shoulders back and down, lift your sternum, chest up. Okay, so now we're going to change direction. As Leo was saying, you're going to need a wall. And the reason for this is we're coming into a Virabhadrasana III action, but modified again. So we're going to come to the wall. Leo's going to use 2 bricks just in case that is required. So she roughly knows her distance, but be sure that you measure your distance so that you understand that you can get the foot back and the leg back, so it's pushing to the wall. That's brilliant. So go and see that you come into Uttanasana, you're on your bricks, so standing up nicely, hinge forward. Now, if you can take your hands to the bricks and then turn the bricks, then fine. But if your hamstrings need that extra length, then still remain on the higher bricks. Take the left leg back. Now push the heel into the wall, level the pelvis. So this is very important. So what we've got to do is understand how much strength we're going to put into the leg there. Lifting up through the centre of the body, that's it. So sometimes when we come, we overdrop this area here. So we've got to see that this lifts. And go and lengthen the collarbones as much as you can. Push back into your back leg, open the back of the thigh, all of this, open the back of the knee. Yes, this is the action. And breathe. And then releasing down. So we're going to do the same with the other leg. So go and see, extending the leg back, pushing back nicely, keeping that length without dropping. And again, you can see Leo here is pushing into the wall. Now if you find you scuff that foot down the wall, that's quite normal, don't worry. You have to persevere, do more standing poses and see if you can get to a class, see if you can get to an Iyengar yoga class. That would be really, really helpful as well, and it will help with your strength. And then release it. Okay, so coming up. Now we're going to come for quite a challenging action. So this is Parivrtta Ardha Chandrasana. Okay, so some of you may have not been introduced to this pose yet, but don't worry, because you've got the support, you've got the resistance of the wall, so we've got to see that we break the body through and extend it. This is really important. So we're going to do similar to what we've done already. We're going to have the leg in Virabhadrasana III. So hinging forward. And now taking your left leg back. Now the difference is going to be, now listen, if you're in the pose, you just have to listen to the instructions now. Push very strongly into the back leg, open the back of the leg. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your left hand about a foot in front of your right big toe and just be there. And then you're going to see that you start to revolve. So you're going to revolve and take the right hand onto the sacrum. Now be there. And then see if you can start to turn, keeping the pelvis really level. So those of you practicing and doing, you find it challenging, ground more into that back leg. Pull up your front leg and then slowly release in. All right, and we're going to come to the other side. So if you do find that the hamstrings are quite tight, then you can turn the bricks the other way. You can see here Leo's showing. All right, so we're going to come with the right leg back. So pressing strongly, keeping that levelness in your pelvis, in your hips. And then we're going to turn. So go and see that you take the right hand in front of the big toe, take the left hand onto the sacrum. And now be careful you don't just keep going forward this way. You've got to come back with the body, come back with the body. So you've got to see that the spine is lining up nicely. Keep pushing into the back leg, keep rolling the shoulder back and down. And then releasing the action. Oh, so challenging when you first start practicing. And eventually we have got videos with this pose in the classic way, haven't we?
I don't know that we have. Well, we need to, yes.
We will double check that, but I'm sure we have. Alright, so we certainly have a My Yoga Tutor.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we're going to come into Uttanasana. So we're going to fold our arms with this, but not to start with. Just remember that extension up through the centre of the body. Hinge forward, hinge forward. If you need to have the bricks, have the bricks. Pull up the thighs, the kneecaps. Those front thighs need to lift because we've got to see that we access the body. And then when you're ready, if you're able to keep that support, then fold your arms. Yes, and then use your arms to lengthen you down, but you've got to don't take the back down if the legs are not lifting up. So you've got to see that you get that. Remember that support needs to be there. Every action in yoga needs to have that stability of movement, stability starting point. So just rest there, be aware of your breath, your inhalation, and your exhalation. So just go through a little checklist from the base, ground down into the outer foot bones, lift your inner ankles, pull up your kneecaps, and then pull up through the thighs. So all of this is so important to maintain that support and extension. Okay, so folding the arms the other way is a little bit awkward, so you may need to release the arms and place the fingers to the floor just for a moment, and then change the cross of the arms. And again, be in this action, lifting up through the centre of the leg, lifting up through the abdomen, broadening the spine, yes, and being sure that those legs remain absolutely solid and strong. Okay, so we're going to change direction now. We're still coming into a forward bend, but we're just finishing our practice with Adho Mukha Virasana. So coming into a kneeling position, taking the big toes together, thighs a little bit away from one another, and then just reaching forward, reaching forward, and extending. I have to move away from Leo because remember I said about those arms, they're very long. Okay, and release in and breathe in. Okay, so some of you will be adding to this sequence, or we will add it to this sequence, our inversions. So we've added inversions. This is going through the next few weeks, just introducing beginner's poses really, and trying to get a little bit more agility. So our inversion sequence that you'd add on to this is really for more experienced practitioners. So if you haven't practiced inversions, then please do continue with the videos, keep to the beginners videos and strengthen up before you attempt it. Better still, have some instruction from a qualified Iyengar teacher. Okay, so coming up into a seated position now.
So we hope you enjoyed doing that sequence. As Lynn said, the Parivrtta Ardha Chandrasana is a challenging pose, and not just at the beginning. It continues to be a challenging pose, even if you've been practicing for a little while. It requires quite a lot of strength. So don't worry if you found that whole sequence a bit demanding. It is a demanding sequence. And,
yes.
You have to build up your strength, so you can always go back to some of our beginners videos, do more standing poses, and then try this again maybe in a couple of months' time. So if you are leaving us at this point, then we'll see you next time. Those of you who are doing the inversions, then just wait for a few seconds and the video will roll on to the inversions shortly.
We're back again, but this time with the inversions. So if some of you have been following the sequencing and joining the inversions onto the sequence, then you will need to have something for your head to come up into Shirasana and the platform for Sarvangasana.
So Shirasana, head balance, Sarvangasana, shoulder balance. These are ones that you're going to be doing if you've learnt them in your class with your teacher.
Okay, so we're just going to go through a few basic instructions. This is just to help with the alignment and the base of the pose, but as Leo said, you need to be practicing this to be coming into your Shirasana. Okay, so kneeling down, interlocking your fingers and coming into this class. Now, the biggest mistake with this pose is this. A lot of people put their head here and clasp their hands together. So if you know that you do this and you're going to be changing the way you're clasping, then just be careful, because of course whenever you change anything and you're changing direction, it can make you a little bit unstable. But what's really important is that you make this flexibility, you create a flexibility. You can see here that Leo's arms flatten down really nicely, the forearms. If you just have a look here, I'm going to show you the forearm on Leo here. This area gets very, very tight. On Leo, it's really nice and soft. In this area here, you've got to work at getting that nice and soft so that you can get the bones down and really ground down. So it's a very important action. And then you're going to just let the head go down, but not to the floor completely. Just let it, you're just bowing the head. Tuck the toes under, keep the head off the floor, and tuck the toes under and lift the knees up. And just let the head release down naturally. So that's where you need that really nice length in the neck. And then coming into the action. Now, how we're going to come into the action today is to really take the front body to the back body, soften the knees, and we're going to come into this bent leg action you can see here. This is really quite challenging. And then very, very slowly unfold the legs. So ground down into the arms and extend the legs up very slowly. So what's really key here, you can see that Leo's going slowly, she's active in her feet, she's active through her body. Now the centre buttock's got to move in, just going to walk around and just see that Leo's in a good position here. And then we just lift the lower leg up, That's it. And you see it's a very, very slow process. Don't rush it. Extend right up into the heels, and we've got to find this rolling in action of the thighs. So rolling the thighs in. Seeing that you're grounding down from the base and getting that energy lifting up. So it's slightly different to Tadasana in direction, but the same quality of alignment. So see that the back of the pelvis moves towards the left side, and then grounding down very strongly in the wrists, spreading the toes, soft inhalation and exhalation. So if you're practicing this as a beginner, then work through your timer, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, until you can come up to 8 to 10 minutes. Of course, we're not going to be showing you that amount of time, but just being in the pose for as long as you can hold it. But see that it's a quality action. As soon as you start to lose that alignment in the pose, then start to calm down. Now we're coming out of the pose because we're just showing you the practice, and if you're staying a little bit longer, then do so, or look to the video for Sarvangasana and then start your inversions. Okay, so Leo's going to come down with control in the same way as she came into the pose. So soft knees, keeping that lift through the thighs, and then just bringing those legs in towards the body. So really challenging action. And then once you get all of that lift, the lower leg will take you to the floor. You can see that action. And then just releasing back down and releasing the buttocks onto your heels and stretching the arms forward and just being there. Take your time, don't get up too quickly, just take a few breaths. If you're still in Sirsasana, then try and maintain all of those actions and the alignment. We're coming on to Sarvangasana now. So we're going to move this mat and bring this new prop base into our view. So we're going to just pop this here, that's it. Alright, I just want to go through a few things with this action. So when you come into this preparation, you can see here, Leo's just taking a little bit of time coming into the action. Now, what a lot of people go wrong on the platform is to have the shoulders a little bit too close to the edge. If you do, quite often when you roll over, you end up rolling off the support. So if you're not used to using the platform, I would highly recommend to use the platform because this really does support the shoulders and frees the neck. But it's important that you get in a good place. You're not rolling off and you are actually still on the platform when you come into Halasana. Now when you come into Halasana, lots of people practice this in different ways. You can push your hands down to get a little bit of momentum. I tend to take my hands into this position and just place them underneath the tailbone, and this just gives me a little lift to push up. So however you go, Leo's doing the same thing, and then rolling over. Just find that really helps, and your arms are in this position then. And you want to see that you really lengthen those arm fibers by extending those arms away from you, keeping the length in the legs. Remember, in this pose, you're trying to create space in the back, so you need to roll the whole of the lower back towards the buttocks so that you make space to put your hands. Now, when you take your hands onto your spine, you've got to keep this area grounded down the upper arm and place the hands. So you can see that Leo is using her skin, her flesh, for her hands. It's a really important action. And the fingers are facing towards one another. And this is another thing we see quite a lot, is that the hands end up like that. That is not where we want to be. We want to turn the hands so that we are supporting. Ground very strongly into those upper arms, and then one leg and the other come up. Yes. and then bring the leg up. So when you're in the pose, again, we've got to see that the middle buttock goes in, but we want to get as much lift as possible. So you have to reach through those legs. It's so important in this pose to reach through those legs and lighten the extension through the body. So keep in that action. Be sure that you're getting this slight rotation with the thighs. And again, the middle buttock, keep checking the middle buttock moves in strongly and you're extending up. Let the breath be smooth and even. And again, we're looking for long stays in this pose eventually. So we may be doing our head balance, our Sirsasana for 5 minutes, and then we come to our Sarvangasana for 10 minutes. So normally double the time, so a lot to build up to if you're just starting out in your inversions. When you're practicing your Sarvangasana, it's really important to keep the throat soft, the facial features soft. Although there's a lot going on, we have to see that there's a softness as well when you're practicing. We do have tutorials on these poses which will show you easier ways of approaching them or the very beginning of your inversions. So we would normally say your inversions would come once you've mastered a little bit of the standing poses, built up strength and stamina, and had a bit of practice. You're understanding the leg work before you start coming into these poses. So if you're staying in your Sarvangasana, stay. We're coming out of this pose now, we're coming into Halasana, and then Leo will be rolling down into her supine recovery position. You see it's all very beautifully controlled, and then taking the other leg down. Very nicely done. And then slowly releasing down. So we've got the crash pad here, which is the launch pad, which is really, I would recommend to anybody to bring that full level up so that you don't have a bang down with the buttocks. It's really important that you have that. And just taking this launch pad underneath the head and wait for a few moments. So a few deep and longer inhalations, recover from your inversions. Don't just get straight up and out of them. Recover for a few moments. Okay, so what we're going to do now is come into Shavasana. So I'm going to help Leo do this, but if you're doing it by yourself, you're going to roll to your right side. But what I'm going to ask Leo to do is just lift her upper body. We're going to turn this support round like this, and then she's going to go back onto the support. And then rest the head. It's really nice, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And just lift her head a little bit so that can go under there. That's great. So lining up, take the feet a little bit towards me. That's it. This way. That's it. Okay. So just be in this position. What's really nice about this platform, being turned in this way, it just is right. It supports the spine really nicely. And for those of you who wish to then straighten the legs with a little bit of resistance, pushing those legs away in this position. So when we come for Shavasana, this is a time where we just need to put that pause button on and scan the body. So never be in a rush with this pose. As Mr. Iyengar always says, it's one of the hardest poses to practice. So we can forget about taking our leg around our head. This is the one that really we have to work and engage with. This is when we find out that peace, quietness, stillness, and try to bring this into our lives. So scanning the body from the facial features, be sure that you're softening around the facial features, softening the eyes, the temples, softening around the forehead, between the eyebrows. Let the back teeth be apart. Soften the throat and soften the abdomen. Just be sure that the arms are rolling out so that the palms are facing up. And lastly, if you haven't already, just let those feet fall apart. And just let the body start to unfold. Take your observations to the tip of the nose, so just take that glance towards the tip of the nose and be aware that your breath is through your nostrils. So a soft inhalation and a soft exhalation. And again, like the inversions, if you wish to stay here for a little bit longer, then do so. We're going to start to come out of our Shavasana. We would recommend you do at least 5 to 10 minutes of this pose. So Leo is going to slowly bend her knees, take her hands towards the body, and roll towards the right side. And then slowly coming up into a seated position. So we hope you enjoyed our inversion video. Please do practice the inversions if you already are practicing, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Namaste.